Greetings, students, and welcome to this episode of The Professor Travel. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Orange County, California. This is the website, this is the vlog, and this is the podcast that you go to in order to learn more about different countries, in order to discuss more in this community as a whole. We travel together, and hopefully we enjoy life a little bit more. Now, you can always reach me on my social media sites. First and foremost, you can start to reach me through my website, which is at theprofessortravel.com. On YouTube and on Facebook, you can find me at The Professor Travel. I'm now on TikTok at The Professor Travel. On Instagram, you can find me at the_professor_travel. On Twitter, you can find me at TheProfessorTR1. And if you're a blogger, you can find me on Blogspot at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, I have a wonderful visiting professor coming back to us again, Professor Morissa Pawl-Frederico. Can you please say hello to all the students and viewers who are listening and watching to us?
Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be back. Sorry, I travel so much.
I love it, though. It's fantastic. Before we get started, and obviously you have some amazing credentials, there is an incredible story behind the picture that we're seeing right in front of us.
Yeah.
Can you talk to our students about this a little bit?
Sure. I really like adventure. And I have a hard time when someone says, "Oh, are you really going to do that?" So yeah, in the middle of Siem Reap, there, these young people selling fried spiders and scorpions and things like that. And because in Cambodia, they do eat these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just for show. And I couldn't resist, picking one up and trying it. I didn't get very far.
Does it taste like chicken?
No. Not at all.
Well, again, yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, yay, and I'm glad you tried it. I'm not so sure I'm as brave as you, but
I didn't get very far, so it's okay.
But the important thing is that you tried it. That's the thing. Now you could say, I've tried a spider, or I've tried a scorpion, so be on that. So for the benefit of my students who have not heard you on the previous vlogs or podcasts, can you just go over really quickly a little bit about your credentials and then maybe some places that you've traveled in the past?
Oh, you bet. Well, I am actually an actual professor of international business law, that kinds of stuff. But I did spend over 25 years in the travel industry, which in the past, which allowed me to really, start to see a lot of the world. I had been traveling before that since the age of 18, but I've really been to all over the world except Antarctica. And even that, I've been pretty close. Just this past year, I was also in Tierra del Fuego, which I think we had another podcast on. And so I got pretty close, and that is going to be one of my next, within a year or two, within my next trips. But yeah, so I'm an avid traveler. I travel several times a year. I'm a points collector, so my airline miles are part of that. But that's my story.
Awesome. And just out of curiosity, and I think I may have asked you this last time, but I don't think we had a full understanding. Do we know how many different countries you've traveled to?
We don't. Well, I do have a map on my website that shows them all. So, people can go to my website and see that. Mm-hmm. I just got myself one of those, scratch off maps. So I'm in the process of doing that. But yeah, there is a map on my website that does show.
I think it's so fun to be able to kind of look at that, because one of those things that I like, and I'm doing as I continue not only with this vlog and podcast, but as a life goal for myself, is to be able to visit as many countries and as many different cultures as possible. And sometimes you'll get multiple cultures in a single country, but I think it's a great opportunity to be able just to get out there and enjoy what's in the world, the different countries that are out there. Unfortunately, we have some countries that are even disappearing once in a while. And so if you have the opportunity to go and see some of them before they're gone, it's a great learning experience to kind of see how that goes.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing I actually didn't mention, was probably one of the most important factors, is that I'm a cultural photographer. So along with being a professor, my other career right now is as a cultural photographer. So that is part of why I travel as well, is to capture that and to capture the people and the essence of a country.
And we're going to actually share the link to that in just a little bit, because I think it's really important that people see some of the wonderful imagery that you've already presented to us in the past, and some of the new stuff that you're bringing to us on this wonderful excursion as well. Speaking of this one, talk to me about where we decided to go for this trip.
Well, this one's a little complicated because I had my wife and I had just gotten back from Argentina.
Mhm.
Then we went to her folks' house in Utah for Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
and we got back on the Monday after Thanksgiving. And by Tuesday, I was sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to make my point status this year on the airline. I may need to go somewhere." And she came up with Cambodia.
Oh no, you had
Yeah,
to travel again?
I
Oh, the shock
know.
of it all.
Sad. Which I had already expressed interest in needing to go to Cambodia because I'd been to Vietnam, and she had no interest in going. And I found a great flight. I found a great rate. So it was like around the $1,000 mark, which is pretty decent for last minute. And I decided that on by Wednesday, and by Monday I was on a plane.
That's really, really fast.
Really
You
fast.
are quite the adventurer on that.
I am.
So now, when preparing for going to Cambodia, did you have to have any type of special visa associated with that, or travel medications?
No, Cambodia is really cool that way. You can get an online visa. It takes a few minutes, and you print it out, and then they return it to you. You print it out, and you're good to go. It's you present the visa right there, and it's inexpensive. I can't remember the exact price, but I want to say it's like around $30, if that, and maybe even less.
Do you,
And go
uh,
ahead.
I'm so sorry. For those who have not had an opportunity to ever get a visa before, or for those who maybe would like to travel to Cambodia, where would they get this kind of a visa from?
Well, that one you just go right online and get it to the Cambodian consulate.
Okay.
There's an actual site that you can go to that you just click on, fill out all the information, you scan a picture of your passport, and pay the fee. And for it was like less than 24 hours, it was back in my inbox.
Nice.
Yeah, they're very efficient.
It
It's
sounds
very,
it. That's
yeah,
really great.
pretty good.
But no crazy travel medications or anything that you needed to be.
No, no. Interestingly enough, in Cambodia, unless you're going to the highlands, you don't need malaria pills
Okay.
or anything like that. I mean, I do always have a yellow fever shot, which lasts for 2 years, just because I do exotic travel.
Mhm.
But and just always be up on your shots, your tetanus, your diphtheria, all of those things. That's always a go-to.
And did
But
you just
other than
go,
that, no.
I was gonna say, did you just go to a travel doctor in order to get that, or did you have to go somewhere special for that?
Well, I didn't have to go anywhere this time, but yes, you would go to a travel clinic. For me in the Portland area, where my doctor is, where my GP is,
Mhm.
it happens to have a really good travel clinic as well. So I
Okay.
just go there. But there are travel clinics, all over the place.
Excellent. Good. All right. So let's start to talk about the pre-packing phase, because again, you didn't have a lot of time to pre-pack for this.
I did
So
not.
what do you bring? I mean, what are the things you need to know about when you're going so quickly on a trip?
Well, first and foremost, you start washing clothes right away.
Mhm.
After that, you really, I do kind of an online search. Although having said that, having been to Vietnam, having been to other places in Southeast Asia, Thailand, I was very well aware that it was just going to be hot.
Mhm.
There's no, you're down in Southeast Asia. There's no other word for it. Excuse me. So the only other thing, and having said that, knowing you're going to countries that practice things like Buddhism, for example, the same thing would be a country that is Muslim. You're going to have things that are a little bit more conservative. So shorts were the name of the game, but you want long shorts. Don't bring short shorts because it's just not cool. It's not done. It's insensitive. You can't go into any of the temples with
Mhm.
short shorts.
Yeah.
So something that falls below the knee. I always have a pair of travel pants, what I call my travel pants,
Yeah.
where they're longer pants, they're very lightweight, and they zip off, just below the knee. So you have that. I brought a pair of jeans, never used them because I was in shorts all the time, and shorts and very lightweight t-shirts, things like that, but not bright colors. You don't want to also attract attention to yourself.
When I went to Thailand a couple of years ago, we specifically went out and started purchasing GOS clothing as well as linen, just for this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
We would not bring shorts to a place like that with that level of humidity. It just doesn't seem like that would be wise. Um,
Absolutely. Well, and you can. And the interesting thing is, in places like Thailand and Cambodia, even Vietnam, you can buy inexpensive travel clothing, which I did. I bought a lot of things when I was there, like very thin T-shirts and the the elephant pants that you see
yes,
all over Southeast Asia.
I was going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
they're actually just called travel pants because or tourist pants, because it's only the tourists that wear them, but they're there for that purpose.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to make mention of, like, as a travel tip to my students. Um, while what Morissa is saying here, you don't want to bring short shorts. In a lot of cases, especially as you're approaching temples, they may, I quote the word may, have the opportunity for you to purchase these elephant pants, these travel pants, which are very like pantaloon, like they're very puffy, or they're just very comfortable. They usually have a drawstring. They're very easy. You can either purchase them or you can rent them in some cases. They're very inexpensive, but because those will cover up your legs and usually well past your knees, that's the safe bet. But again, like I say, you I will say they may be available. I wouldn't say they're 100% guaranteed. So like Morissa had said, please, 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 when you're going to conservative countries, try to bring shorts, capris, things like that that go well past your knees. So that way you can get into those temples, you can get into those places, and people don't look at you really weird or funny because of that.
Yeah, and don't wear tank tops either. It just you don't really want to. You want something that's a little bit more absorbent. So a tank top is not the greatest idea, but it's just not done. If you're a female, you can always, or a well-dressed man, you can always get a sari and wrap that around you. But it's just uncomfortable. Just dress a little bit more appropriate, and you'll be fine. And you can get those pants in any market too.
Exactly. So let's again talk about the parking situation and transportation situation out of Portland. I assume your wife did not travel with you on this, correct?
No,
Or
she
did
didn't.
she? Okay,
No,
so did she just drop you off then?
absolutely not.
Oh,
she,
okay.
she tells me you're on your own. No,
Oh, man.
no. I left. She was working when I left. But no, for this one, I actually flew out of Seattle because I wanted just a more
Oh,
direct flight.
okay.
Uh, I'm only 3 hours from Seattle, so I drove up to Seattle and parked at an airport location. I got a really good discounted rate. It was $96 for the whole time.
Oh, nice.
It was excellent, and that's it. I mean, it's just simple. It's so I have the benefit of going out of either Seattle or Portland, depending on, do I want that extra flying time? Do I want to pay an extra price? Whatever it is. So that's what I do.
Excellent. And which airline did you decide to go on?
Korean. I travel Korean a lot because I really like connecting in Seoul Airport.
I hear the Seoul airport is actually quite lovely.
The Seoul Airport is fantastic, and I have a choice of, and no matter where you're flying into or out of, you have a choice of like 6 lounges. Excuse me. I have a Priority Pass,
Mm.
and with Priority Pass, I can just kick it in the lounges, and it's fantastic. Really good food, good atmosphere, nice.
What was your downtime in Seoul?
On the way back, it was about 8 hours. On the way there, it was, I think, about 3 hours.
Okay, that's not that bad. The 8 hours is a little bit pushing it for me. I've spent a 9 hour layover in Munich before, and I think I would have preferred to just have a 24-hour layover and just taken the time to actually get a hotel room somewhere and do that. It's this.
I'm gonna give you something really interesting about Seoul Airport, which is another reason I recommend it. Uh, if you have a transfer in Seoul Airport, as you're coming through the transfer area before you go through security again with your hand luggage, there's a little desk there, and they actually offer free city tours to
Oh,
transit tourists. The tours it range from 1 hour, 2 hours, all the way up to I think 5 hours of Seoul city sites,
well,
and they're completely free. You just have to sign up for it.
nice. Okay. And they're completely free. There's, I assume there's
Completely free.
gratuities involved and stuff like that.
No, there's nothing involved. I mean, yes, I'm sure you can give a gratuity, but there's nothing involved. The premise is coming from the South Korean tourist board,
Okay.
and they just want to, transiting passengers, they want to show them Korea and get them excited about Korea. So it's a fantastic promotion that they do.
Excellent. And how was the food on your flights?
I never have any problem. Korean is still. It used to be the cheap airline to get to Asia back in the day when I was a travel agent, and now to me it's one of the loveliest because they don't penny pinch. The food is good. The seats have plenty of leg room. There's plenty of entertainment. It's like old fashioned flying.
I
So,
remember seeing the Korean Air commercials, and they're always these luxurious, fabulous type of like, oh, if you want to live like a 5-star person, go through Korean Air and stuff like
right.
that. So it was really, really pretty. And I was like, I don't know if I can afford that, but based on the price that you're saying, and that was
It's
with like
expensive.
very little notice, it sounds like it was not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, Korean is very inexpensive. They don't penny pinch. You can still bring your 2 bags of 50 pounds each.
Nice.
They really don't hassle you. They're lovely. And they used to be one of my clients actually back in the day when I was selling advertising for a travel magazine. And so I was part of that ad campaign. And
Excellent.
I highly recommend them.
Excellent. Good. All right. So then where do you land in Cambodia? What's the name of the city that you're in?
The city I land in is Phnom Penh, which is the capital.
Okay.
And Cambodia is a really small country. The cities are very compact. I mean, it's on the large side by looking at it, but the city itself is very compact.
Okay.
Um, I prearranged a taxi to take me to my airport because I got in about 11 o'clock at night. I didn't want to deal with it.
Okay.
Uh, Inexpensive, $15.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And were you staying at an Airbnb, a hotel? Where were you staying?
No, the hotels are so inexpensive. So even last minute. Well, let me preface that by saying Cambodia's travel they've seen a 50% decrease in travel in just 1 year over
Wow.
the last year. So things are very cheap at the moment. Everything's plentiful. And, I kind of encourage people to go there just to support them because they're hurting for all the tourism that hasn't or has gone away, I would say.
Now, I know when I was going to Thailand, it was very inexpensive there, and we used the Thai baht, and I think it was about 35 Thai baht to the dollar. You can get things literally for pennies. What type of currency do they use over there? Do you know?
Yeah, they use the riel. It's called the riel,
Real?
Cambodian riel. It's 4 to 1. Well, I say 4 to 1. It's 4,000 to 1.
Okay.
But you'll probably never use it. They deal in dollars.
Oh, okay. That's easy enough then.
It's so simple. They deal in dollars. There's no need to worry about currency exchange. It's just show up with your cash. Or there are ATMs. There are ATMs everywhere in
Nice.
Cambodia.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like you had a really good start to it. So take us on a little bit of your itinerary and let us know where you went over the course of the time that you were there.
Sure. So I decided to, because I was arriving so late at night in Phnom Penh, just get a room for the night and then head right up to Siem Reap, which is the city outside of Angkor Wat. The reason I did that was just for timing, with the way of my flights were, and then spend the 4 days in Phnom Penh at the end of the trip. So first thing in the morning, I had booked ahead. It's a bus service. There are several bus services, and the best one is called Grand Ibis.
Grand Itis?
And Grand Ibis.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great ibis. Now I have to think about it, but
Okay.
it's the national bird. It's named after the national bird, and it's a luxury bus system, private bus system, and you have to use a private bus system. There is no public bus, but it's a luxury bus system, and I got I think a 9 o'clock in the morning bus. It took about 6 hours to get to Siem Reap, and you're on a luxury bus. They give you water, they give you a treat, they stop for lunch, and it's $18.
Do they have restrooms on the bus?
Not on the day bus. They do not.
Oh, okay.
They stop. They stop, midway, and for you to get lunch, go to the restroom, get some snacks if you want, whatever.
Okay, cool. So the size of the city that you're going to, and for those of my students who are not familiar, Angkor Wat is this vast series of ruins that you'll see in just a couple of minutes. Morissa was very kind to share a couple of pictures with us. How large is the city that's nearby?
Siem Reap is not that big. It's walkable. Ironically enough, all the main attractions in the city. There's not a lot to see in the city, but I really like the city. It's quaint, it's cool, it's got some nice restaurants, it's got a really kind of hip atmosphere. Um, it's amazing for a country that really is only about 20 years out of complete chaos.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I went to Thailand a couple of years ago, I needed to make sure to purchase some toiletries, quite literally toiletries, when I was there, because the places you would go would not necessarily have toilet paper,
Right.
so you had to make sure to do that. Was Cambodia similar?
No, that's what's so
Oh
interesting.
wow!
Yeah, I mean, I always travel with like a travel roll,
Mhm.
and all sorts of toiletries as well in my backpack, my camera backpack. But no, Cambodia is they've done a fantastic job in the last 20 years of trying to make things really solid for tourists. I mean, the bathrooms are clean, and they even advertise, I'll say clean bathroom. It's really interesting. And at the temples, if you have a temple ticket, you're not a local, you have a temple ticket and you're going around, all the bathrooms are free. They're beautiful. They're well taken care of. Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about Angkor Wat. I'm curious to hear about this.
Kind of amazing. I mean, it was always on my bucket list, just because it is the largest religious site in the world. It doesn't disappoint. I will tell you that. The first thing you do, and at least the first thing I did, the way I did it, is go see the sunrise at Angkor Wat. That doesn't have to be the first thing you do, but it's kind of a really cool introduction to the temples. And you sit there waiting with about 200, 300 of your closest friends, and to see the sunrise come up behind Angkor Wat, and it's incredible. It's stunning. I mean, you get there in the dark, and this magnificent set of buildings that were built in the 9th, 10th century come up before you, and you can't imagine, how did they build this? It's just incredible.
Nice.
And then there are more temples all around. It's not just Angkor Wat, it's the whole Angkor system. Before you go in, though, at sunrise, and it opens very, very early, you go to the ticket booth, which is outside of the complex, and you buy either a 1-day, a 3-day, or you can even buy a 7-day ticket into the complex.
Hmm.
They're a bit pricey. It is probably the most expensive thing you will buy in Cambodia. 1 day is $36. Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, 1 day is $36. 2 days is $62. And I can't remember how much the 7-day one was, but I opted for the 3-day, which is exactly what I would suggest, so that you can see multiple things inside the complex, and you don't have to rush through it all in one day.
Okay. Now you're saying this is the largest religious complex in the world, like larger than the Vatican?
Oh, much larger.
Wow.
Makes the Vatican look like a drop in the bucket.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I'm stunned because, like, as I said, when I was at the Vatican, it was massive, and I was just
Yeah.
overwhelmed by how huge it was. And
You can't possibly reach all. I mean, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but it's several thousand square miles. It's massive, and you have to, think some of the places and some of the temples that you'll go to, you have to think Tomb Raider, Raiders of the
Mm,
Lost Ark.
yeah.
It's like your wildest fantasies come true with your temple ruins and these big trees growing up through the temples. It's you want to take the time because there's each one is more magnificent than the next one.
And they want to continue to cultivate the vines that are growing through the trees, but make sure, or growing through the ruins, but they want to make sure it's not destroying the ruins at the same time because it adds
Yeah.
to the ambiance.
Absolutely. Well, and they don't want to disturb anything, but they do, they if the vines that are already through there are not, they're just growing taller, they're not growing wider.
Mhm.
But if something needs to be propped up, they'll prop it up, and otherwise, the ruins are there as ruins. But it's quite incredible.
Talk to me about what you meant by the Angkor system. Are there a series of different ruins that you can go to when you have this temple
Oh yeah.
pass? Or?
Oh yeah, there are so many. You can't possibly even if you did a 7 day, you could possibly get to every one. I think you'd be templed out, but uh, yeah, you have to kind of pick and choose which ones you're interested in seeing. But what I did, and what is very common to do, is hire a tuk-tuk.
Oh,
The little motorized cab, open air cab, and have them just, for the day, and they'll take you to a series of temples. There's like a small route and a large route, and it's like $25 a day to hire your tuk-tuk. They wait for you, they take you everywhere you need to go. It's
nice.
really very convenient.
Awesome. Okay, so you're going to be there for 3 days. While we're there, talk to me a little bit about what you do for, like, I mean, are you just going back and forth between the city and Angkor Wat, or how's that working?
Well, Angkor Wat is really very close. I mean, it's maybe 10 minutes outside the city.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
So it's really very close. But yeah, the first day I spent the whole day, just driving around the different temples. And just when I, would say to the driver, I think I'm good. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, okay, all right, you're right. Let's go to that one. So, yeah, it's just,
Well, you're really close. It's like, oh, come on, let's
right,
just
yeah,
one more
okay,
temple,
let's
one more
go
temple.
there. Yeah. But that's part of the problem is that each one is just so incredible. You can't believe you're standing there. It's just really intense. So yeah, I mean, a lot of temples, and then I would usually relax a little bit in the afternoon. My hotel had a pool, although I never used it because I was too busy, running around doing things, and it is what it is. But
And eating spiders, apparently.
and eating spiders, absolutely. And that's for dinner, I tended to go to the same area every night, which is Pub Street. It's just a lively, fun-filled area that they've created over the last, maybe 10 years, where they're all really great restaurants, and there's just, a lot going on, and, there are a lot of tourists, there are locals, and, there are some massage places. You can get an inexpensive massage and
Yes.
have some dinner, have some drinks, do some shopping. There's a night market right there. So that's where I would end up going most nights.
Talk to me about some of the foods that you did. Obviously, you tried the spiders, which is like,
Yeah,
that's fine. That's the exotic part. But like,
that
what
was a
kind of
snack.
typical, yeah. But what kind of typical foods would you have for your evening?
It's very similar to all Southeast Asian food. They're not known for their food as much as Vietnam is,
Yeah.
or even Thailand, but a lot of the same type of stuff. They're really known for pineapple fried rice, which of
Mhm.
course is always a winner. They're noodle dishes. There's just the gamut of things you can have. And I don't, somebody asked me, aren't you worried about getting sick? And I tend not to. So um yeah, but everything's very clean. I mean, the restaurants are very modern, beautiful places. I went to one that apparently was Angelina Jolie's favorite during the filming of Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
and had the Tomb Raider cocktail. And I did it just because, and it was actually very good. I had to go back the next day and just have another cocktail.
What
So
is in a Tomb Raider cocktail?
it is Cointreau, uh, club soda and lime, I believe.
Sounds refreshing.
It was actually really refreshing for a hot day. Oh, and that's the other thing is a lot of local beers, because it's so hot. It's, I would usually have a nice beer in the afternoon, even though I'm not a big beer drinker.
Hmm.
So that's always a nice thing to do there too.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So you're hitting all the temples back and forth every single day for about 3 days. What's after that? What's our next
Uh,
thing?
well, the next thing I did was after doing the temples, in each city I go to, I like to set up some type of local cultural tour, at least one, because I don't like to take big tours. I don't like giving money to big tour companies. I'd rather give the money to a local NGO or something like that. So I had researched a little bit in the 3 days before I left, a tour that ended up taking me to, and on recommendation actually of a friend I met in Vietnam the year before, a tour that took me to the Tonle Sap River for sunset. But prior to that, there's a little village, one of the fishing villages on the river and on the lake, that took me, myself and 6 others, they have a maximum of 7 people, to their village. And all the money, it was only $35, but all the money goes towards this local school, primary school that they've built, because children can't get to the bigger school. So, in the monsoon season, in the wet season, they will swim to school, or the teacher will, pick them up by boat. And in the dry season, they can walk. So we actually got to see the school, meet the villagers. And these are people that, we, from a Western perspective, would say are some of the poorest of the poor, and yet just smiles and happy, and it really an amazing experience.
That's awesome. Very nice. And how long were you in that area for?
I was there for most of the day.
Okay.
We got to meet the villagers and go to the school, and then we watched the sunset on the Tonle Sap Lake, which is a massive lake in Cambodia. Stretches all the way from Siem Reap to Phnom Penh.
Mm.
And then the next morning, that night, I took the Grand or Great Ibis. I'm not sure which one.
Well,
Sorry,
the National Bird
the
Bus.
National Bird Bus, back to Phnom Penh, but I did the night bus,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun. It's beds on a bus. It's crazy. Beds on a bus. I took a lower bunk, which was fine. And they have outlets, and you can use your phone as a little flashlight. And so you can charge all your goodies. You get on the bus about 11:30 at night, and by 5 a.m. you're back in Phnom Penh. And I fell asleep. I was out, and it was really convenient. So you don't really lose any time. But I do want to say actually one other thing about the hotels. The reason in Cambodia you can do hotels for between $20 and $30, you can get a beautiful hotel room. The little boutique hotels. I would never stay in one of the mega hotels in a place like that,
Yeah.
because and there aren't that many, but the boutique hotels are right there in the city. So that's another thing I wanted to add in.
Awesome.
So then I got up, got there in the morning. I grabbed a tuk-tuk. There are plenty of them sitting there waiting, saying, do you need a tuk-tuk? And, they
They're
grab
kind of
one.
aggressive sometimes, at least if it's similar to what they were in Thailand.
No, they're actually really gentle.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
they'll come up to you and say, do you need a tuk-tuk? But if you say no, they go, okay. And they
Okay,
walk
that's good.
away. So I had someone come up to me, and I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And he took me to my next hotel.
Hmm.
And then I spent the rest of the time in Phnom Penh.
Excellent. Any other activities that you did in Phnom Penh?
Yeah, Phnom Penh has a lot of really interesting things to do. Their markets are not that great. If you're going to buy, T-shirts and things like that, do it in Siem Reap.
Okay.
Phnom Penh, the markets it's weird, but they're kind of lackluster, and that's okay. But I did the same thing, hired a tuk-tuk for the day. And in fact, we're now Facebook friends, which is really kind of funny. The ever-present Facebook, it's all over the world. So, yeah, he would, he would wait for me outside the hotel and just hang out and wait. And, hey, what do you want to do today? So I had, if the first day I went to the prison and the killing fields,
Yeah.
and that is a very emotional thing to do, but you want something you have to do in Cambodia. It's a war ravaged country. There are still landmines. I can't even say it. There's still landmines everywhere. Not in the cities, not where you'll be. It's not dangerous, but they've spent a lot of money cleaning up landmines. In fact, one of the temples I went to up in Siem Reap, they had only cleared the landmines from the area just a couple of years ago. So it's a work in progress. They're really not anywhere near where they need to be to get rid of these landmines. It's a horrible situation. You see, disfigured people all the time. It's that is the hard part of going to Cambodia, and the fact that we played a role in that. But I did go to the prison. It's called S21, which is where they held all the prisoners and killed, so the Khmer Rouge, and that's just a little bit of history that people may want to look into, killed a lot of people. And there were only 12 survivors. And I happened to meet two of them. I got to meet two of them, which was really quite moving. And then out to the killing fields, which is just very somber. And, they don't ask you to be quiet, but everybody is. Everybody's very silent, and it's very moving as bodies are still coming up in the rainy season. It's not like this is a history lesson. It's still happening. The bodies are still rising up. They're still finding things. It's quite incredible. And then I can't remember what I did some of the other days, but one of the days I went to Silk Island, and that is also it's a community. I had my driver take me out there, where it's actually kind of like a true form of commune. The widows make the silk by hand. They have the worms, they have the mulberry bushes. Everything is done by hand. The scarves are made with vegetable dye when they're dyed. And it's just beautiful work. And and it's right outside of Phnom Penh. I mean, you can literally see it across the river, across the Mekong. And then my last day, I had planned another NGO called Free the Bears,
Okay.
which it's a little on the pricey side, but the money goes for a good cause. It was about, I want to say it was about $90, but the money goes for a very good cause. And I happened to be the only person that day, so it was all very tailored. They pick you up in the morning. They take you way outside of Phnom Penh to a sanctuary, an animal sanctuary,
Okay.
and where they rescue animals from all over Southeast Asia. And this one is focused on the sun bears and the moon bears. And so I got to be, it's called, be a bear keeper for a day.
Aw.
And I got to actually make enrichment toys for the bears and feed the bears, and see them from behind a fence.
Closure, yeah, or something.
Yeah. And they're very large enclosures, and they look very natural. And that was kind of a really nice experience, a nice way to end the whole trip.
Awesome. So it sounds like it was a wonderful trip. Can I take a step back for just a moment to the killing fields and
Yeah.
the stuff that was going on there? I know Pol Pot died a few years ago, and for those of my students who are not really familiar with it, he was the leader of the Khmer Rouge. Is he actually like buried in Cambodia, or do you know what happened with him?
He is buried in Cambodia. He died in Cambodia. And this is really the sad thing, is that none of the Khmer Rouge leaders really paid a price for what they did. Uh, Pol Pot died a free man. Um, uh, Dutch, one of the other guys, died a free man. Friends of mine in Norway, that the people that I had met in Vietnam the year before, her brother was instrumental in catching Pol Pot's right-hand man. But by the time they caught him, he was so old. Uh, nothing happened, and he died last year. So, some of these people are still alive, and as a matter of fact, even the president of Cambodia today, who's been the president, interestingly enough, since 1985, was in the Khmer Rouge.
Hmm.
So it's really a very strange dichotomy of politics and events in Cambodia that I still couldn't quite put my finger on.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like you got a lot of history and cultural enrichment. And it sounds like you also did some great charitable work while you were there and being able to help with the economy and help with the bears, help with the schools. It sounds like you really got a lot out of this trip.
I did, and I like to do that when I travel somewhere. I don't want to be that tourist. One of my goals in travel and as a cultural photographer is to not only bring the culture back to the rest of the world and show people through my photography, but to really experience it myself, to delve deep into a culture that I'm experiencing and meet the people, meet the real people, not the people that sometimes tour companies want you to see.
Mhm.
So that's part of my goal and what I do.
I will say this. We are on this channel, we do not judge a person as far as how they travel or how they
No.
tour. Whatever you as a student want to be able to do within the different locations that you go to, great. I personally love cruising,
Mhm.
and because for me it's one of those opportunities to kind of get a little bit of a sampling of different countries, and then if I want, I can say, hey, you know what, I really would like to go back to this one place and do a much deeper dive into that place. So it gives me that opportunity to do exactly as you've done, which is let's take a week and just really hit this one location and dig into it and get the nuts and bolts out of it.
Well, and the way I travel isn't for everybody.
Yeah,
It's really not. And absolutely, 100% agree with you. No judgment there. Everybody needs to. I want people to like you to see the world, to experience the world, and if cruising and being able to see lots of little places, I think that's a great idea. Um, I'm not there yet. I think eventually I will be when I can't do as much of the adventure travel. But I mean, I love cruises, but yeah, it's there's definitely many ways to travel. There's no one way to travel. I just do this primarily because of my photography. That's the way I travel, and that's kind of sometimes the way I've always traveled. But I've also traveled very luxury, so I've done a little bit of everything.
so let's also talk really quick about the return process. So I coming back, you had, I know, a 9-hour layover. I
Yeah,
think it was in
8 hours. Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, 8 hours. Oh, sorry, I'm confusing it with my layover. 8-hour layover in Seoul, which just sounds like was not too much of an issue for you. How was passport control and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, it's really simple. Passport control is very easy. I mean, I have, and it's something I would suggest people get is the mobile app to come back into the United States. It's 14.99, I think. It was the price when I got it. It's something you fill out. You scan your passport ahead of time, and then as you land in the United States, you just hit a couple of buttons and you're ready to go. And there's a special line for you so that you don't have to get in the regular line. So do either that or the
Global
regular
control.
government one.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the mobile passport
Mobile
specifically.
passport. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the people I speak to on this channel, I either do the mobile passport or they do global entry. I have global entry myself.
Either one. Either one.
They're both fantastic. They'll save you a lot of time, especially in the larger hub cities. Like I got LAX, and it
Yeah.
saves me a lot of time going through LAX. I've actually timed it. It saves me about a good 30 minutes each time I come back through LAX. So I'm
Yeah.
happy with that.
I mean, I was at LAX because I actually coming back, I came through LAX
Okay.
and I literally, oh no, sorry, that was a different trip.
It's
I
okay.
came, sorry, I'm confused. I came back through LAX when I went to Buenos Aires, and yeah, it saved at least an hour because you don't actually even go through passport control. You just scan it and you're done. Oh no, sorry, maybe that was Seattle. I don't know. I'm confused. But I know when I got back to Seattle, I didn't actually see a passport officer.
Okay.
It was just amazing. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
just much easier, I think.
yeah, and the layover in Seoul Airport is really not bad. Again, it's why I like taking Korean Airlines, even though sometimes they go everywhere, and sometimes they have long layovers on the way back. But if you have a priority pass,
Hmm.
there are so many lounges you can hang out in, and they just have a constant buffet of food going, comfortable chairs, outlets, and you really don't even notice the time, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's one of my favorite places to connect.
Awesome. All right. And then I just wanted to share some of your pictures with the rest of the team
Sure.
here. Let's go around and just talk to me a little bit about each of these pictures.
Sure. The one on the top left was a fun story. I was in the tuk-tuk, driving back from Silk Island, actually, outside of Phnom Penh.
Hmm.
And I saw this truck with, like a hay truck with this lady sitting on top. And I had my telephoto lens. And as we got a little bit closer, I, focused in. She saw my camera and just got so excited. I mean, here's somebody that we would look at and say, she's got nothing. And look at the joy on her face. It's just, I had to capture, I call that photo joy, because a rural joy, because it just captured such simpleness of life.
You know, funny story. I'm going to connect to this one really quick, and this is from Thailand. I actually had noticed when I was in Thailand that there was definitely a discrepancy between the really really rich and the not so rich,
Yeah.
but I didn't see, at least in all the areas I was in around Bangkok, in and outside of Bangkok, I didn't see too many homeless people. I didn't
Yep.
see, I did not see people that were sad or angry or furious at the government or anything. Well, granted, it's a kingdom in Thailand,
Right.
but at the same time, I asked our tour operator and I was like, I'm just so amazed. Everybody is just so happy. And she's like, but that's part of the philosophy. You're happy with
Buddhist.
what you have. So whether you have $1 million or whether you have a buck in your pocket, you live within your means. It's not like here in the United States where you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
People respect you for being able to live within your means, and that's not frowned on,
Yeah.
at least not in Thailand. And so people tend to have a better emotional support level, a better social level, because they're not judged by the fashions that they wear or the clothes that they or the things that
Right.
they eat and stuff like that. So it's based entirely. I mean, I guess in some ways it's kind of a caste-based system, but it's not people aren't looked down for being part of these separate
Right.
levels, and that if that makes
It's
sense.
very much it's a Buddhist philosophy, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the same in Vietnam, same in Cambodia. Cambodia is a kingdom also, by the way.
Mm.
They have a president, but they also have a king,
Okay.
and it is the same kind of thing, and it really is a Buddhist philosophy that be happy with what you have, and they are. They're I mean, you can see the look on this woman's face. It's just sheer joy.
Mm-hmm. I like it. And
Okay, the next one on the well, let's go to the top right, the top center. Sorry,
okay.
top center is Angkor Wat at sunrise.
Oh, it's
Um,
beautiful.
there is a reflecting pool, which was originally part of a moat. Actually, the moat is still there. Does still surround it, and it's just Angkor Wat as it's coming up. The sun is coming up. You can't really, from a photograph, gauge just how big this thing is. It's really hard to explain. Let's go to the lower right. The lower right is a picture later in the morning of Angkor Wat, just from a different side. It's from the side of the temple. Um, Again, the picture does not do justice to the size of these towers. They're just incredibly, incredibly tall. I did walk around through the inside of the temple as well. Let's go to the lower left. Again, Angkor Wat. That's Angkor Wat from the sky, actually. There is a really cool helium balloon that you can take.
Oh wow.
It's $15. Highly recommended. I was the only person there because tourism is down. And you stay up for about 10 minutes and just you get a bird's eye view of everything. And it's just stunning. It's a stunning view.
Question for you. Do you know if for those of us who are vloggers or for people who are bloggers, do you know if they allow for drones for photography?
No, I believe that it's no drones.
Okay. I just wanted to
Pretty
double
sure.
check on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's no drones. Uh, and for a variety of reasons, they want to protect the sites as well, and
Sure.
no one knows, what's involved in having a drone.
Yeah.
So the top right picture you can't see very well because our photos are covering
Hi.
the
Sorry.
yeah, hi guys, covering the sunset, but you can see that on my website, which Scott will show you in a little bit. That is a sunset at Bantai Ray. It's kind of it's a thing where a lot of people do it, so you have to go early and then sit and wait for the sun, because it's quite a hike up to the top. It's about 3/4 of a mile up, and then another little bit to climb the temple on very steep steps. So, and they only allow 300 people up, period. So if you get there too late, you're not going to get a tag and not going to get to go to the top of the temple and watch the sunset. But um, luckily, my driver, any driver knows that you need to get there early, and I got there plenty early and got a nice seat. I actually talked to a Cambodian tour guide for about 40 minutes, which was really nice. Getting a lot of local flavor. We also are now Facebook friends, so yeah, it's kind of funny that way. And and then you watch the sunset, and it was just incredible. I mean, as the photo shows, I've already had a few orders for this photograph on glass, which is really nice. And then the lower center one is a clouded leopard. He was at the conservation center. Most of the animals that are at the conservation center were farmers took them as pets, or they were injured in the forest, and the conservation center takes them and brings them back to health. Some of them to release them back. Ironically enough, the bears that I was talking about, a lot of them came to the conservation center because of being pets, because many farmers will, take a bear, like one of the moon bears, and it's a status symbol. They have a bear, and then the bear starts to get big, and they realize, oh, I don't really want this bear, but I don't want to hurt it. So they call
Dangerous, yeah.
somebody calls the conservation center, and they come get it.
Well, these are fantastic photos, and we're going to talk about where to get that in just a second. But let's talk about the takeaways from this trip. What would you say are probably the biggest pros of a trip like this?
The biggest pro, I would say, if you're looking for somewhere to go that's exotic, a little bit different, that maybe is, kind of like Thailand was 40, 50 years ago, or even longer, that's definitely one of the pros. Uh, as far as costs go, even a backpacker can live like a king or a queen, because everything is so inexpensive. A dollar goes a long way.
Mm.
And it's really one of the great wonders of the world. I think everybody should see it. The people are fantastic. The infrastructure is amazing, considering they're not that long out of a civil war. So yeah, I would say those are the pros.
Excellent. And then what would you say are some things that maybe the student or a first-time person would want to be aware of when going there?
You do need to be aware of, sometimes scams. You have to remember this is a poor country. And while 99% of the people are wonderful, there is going to be that 1% that would like to scam you out of your money, even if it's $5. So you do have to be aware. Don't flash your phone around. Even though I mean, I use my phone for GPS, but you have to be careful, especially if you're on a tuk-tuk. Sit in the middle if you can. Keep your backpack, in down on the ground in between your legs, so that a motorcyclist can't, come by and grab it. And I never saw anyone attempt that, but it happens. So
Mm.
you just have to be aware of those things.
Okay. And then value adds, cost savings, or some best practices that you'd like to share with us?
It's really a place you can go on your own. I think pretty much all of Southeast Asia is. Of course, it's more fun with a friend, but you can go alone. It's not that difficult. You will meet people. You will have a good time. Value adds, I would say, don't immediately think I have to stay in a hostel, if you're going on the cheap, because like I said, the hotels are so inexpensive. I mean, some of the hotels I paid $20 a night and they were beautiful.
Mm.
Cost savings, yeah, I mean, your airline ticket is probably going to be your biggest expense. Everything else is not so much. And best practices, just really just have a good time. Go with an open mind.
And try a spider now and then.
Try a spider now and then.
Now, in order for people to look at these amazing photographs that you have, I have your website up on here, but just so those who are listening on the podcast know, it's http://www.Frederico photography, spelt FREDERICOPHOTOGRAPHY.com.
Correct.
And did you have any other pointers out for people when they come to that website? Anything to
Nope.
look at?
They can order. One of the things I do have on there now is ways that they can order. They can also go to my Facebook page and order. Either way, if they want to get any of the photographs I have on any type of medium, I can always arrange that.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much again for sharing this with us. We really appreciate it. And again, to all my students, if you have any questions or comments that you would like to know a little bit more about, or if you just wanted to get some more information, you can always, of course, reach out to Morissa directly if it's any questions on Cambodia, or if there's anything in general, you can reach me at scott@theprofessortravel.com. For those of you who would like to be notified when there's new videos that go up, hit the bell icon on YouTube there. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more, please give a like for us. If you're listening on the podcast, again, please give us a rating. We really appreciate it. And to everyone, again, make every opportunity to travel a wonderful travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye now.